So let's make a planet with rings. We'll start with our first planet that we made, the gas planet. And let's do a save as. And we can call this, we could just call this gas planet rings. Let's organize our layers. We'll start by creating a group. A group is just a folder. We can name our group planet. And we'll click and hold Shift to select all of our planet layers. We'll leave the background alone and just drag those layers over our group and they'll go inside. Create a new layer. Let's call this layer ring. Go to the elliptical marquee tool. Put our cursor in the center of our planet and hold and drag while we hold Option so that we drag out from the center point. Now we do not need to hold the Shift key to keep proportion because what we want is an elongated kind of ellipse. All right, let's make sure that we have our layer selected. Click Edit, Fill, White. Command D to deselect. Let's adjust the opacity so that it's a little bit transparent. You can zoom in on this. If this ellipse isn't in the direct center of our planet, so let's say that this left-hand end is extending a little bit farther beyond the edge of the planet than the right-hand end, then we can use our arrow keys to just nudge this into position. Let's make a duplicate of our ring layer. Lock the transparent pixels, choose Edit, Fill, contents should be black. Command T to transform, hold Option and drag from a corner to make our ellipse a bit smaller, but from the center point. Oops. Double click to set our change. You can use the arrow keys if you want to nudge this around a little bit. I'll make my ring a little bit larger, so I'm going to shift click both layers, Command T, I'm using the arrow keys to adjust the position of these rings on the planet. So this central ellipse is going to be a template which I'm going to use to cut out the lower white ellipse in order to make a ring. So you can see this black ellipse is just sitting on top of the white. We're going to choose the magic wand tool. Make sure you're selected on the ring copy. Click on the black pixels. Toggle the visibility of the ring copy. Select the ring layer. Hit delete. Command D to deselect. We can drag the ring copy layer to the trash. Let's duplicate our ring layer. So we have a new layer named ring copy, but this ring copy now has a duplicate of our white ring. Make sure you're selected on the ring copy, press Command T to transform, hold Option Shift and drag from a corner inward so that we get the illusion that there's several rings. Double click to save the change. Shift click to select both ring layers. Command T if we want to adjust the size. We can put our rings at an angle, hover over a corner, click and drag. Remember that planets usually have some kind of an axis tilt. Double click to set that change. Okay, so now we want to make it look like the top part of the ring is farthest away and it's going on the other side of the planet so that the planet is blocking it out. We won't be able to see it, and the lower part of the ring is going to be on our side of the planet. So let's open up our planet group, make a copy of our planet. Let's turn off the effects. Let's right click our planet copy to rasterize it, so rasterize layer. Let's turn off the effects. We're still in the magic wand, so we'll just click on that planet copy. Actually, we need to lock our transparent pixels so we don't select every pixel on the layer, but only the pixels that have color on them. Let's go to our ellipse marquee tool. And when we do that, we have a little crosshairs cursor with a minus sign in it. What that means is when we click and drag, wherever we overlap our selection, it's going to subtract from that selection. And what we want to do is we want to subtract the part of the selection that we don't want to delete. So the selection is going to end up deleting, when we hit delete, it's going to end up deleting the part of the ring that we don't want. So we can just do this as many times as we need. Doesn't matter what this part looks like as long as the selection covers only the top part of the ring system that is going to be hidden on the far side of the planet. Alright, so let's go back to our ring copy, hit delete, choose ring, hit delete, Command D to deselect. We can delete our planet copy. We don't need it anymore. And let's select both layers of our ring. We can choose merge layers. Command T, let's just shrink these up a little bit. And we could convert these to a smart object. We could go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and then we could put a little bit of a blur on our rings. So however you want to do it is really up to you. The effect that you're going for, You can make your rings unique. They don't have to be white. They could be a different shape. They could be made up of some other kind of object. You could try different filters. You can experiment with the rings. This is just a simple way to create rings that look sort of realistic. And I'll play with the opacity a little bit. All right, so we have our first gas planet with rings. You only need to have one of these, but you can certainly have more if you would like. Let's go ahead and do we already saved as, so we don't want to save over our original. You might want to change the color so that you don't have two planets that are the same color. And again, as a refresher, we could go ahead on our planet layer, double click, lock transparent pixels, go to edit, fill, choose color, and then choose some other color. So we've done a purple planet, maybe a green planet this time. All right, so we have our green planet with rings. Let's make a shadow for our rings. Right now we have rings going around the planet and it's very bright, but we're looking at our planet from the dark side. And the planet would cast a shadow across our rings. So we need to make sure that we have the planet folder open. Go to Shadow Copy, make a copy of that, drag that up above our ring copy layer. We can close our planet folder. Let's go ahead and rename our new layer Ring Shadow. And let's just call ring copy ring. Select the ring shadow layer. We should unlink that to the other layers. And next, we're going to increase the fill and opacity. So yours might be different than mine because how intense you wanted the shadow to be is a matter of aesthetic judgment. But just for illustration's sake, I'll increase mine to 100%. So it's completely opaque. And you can see as I do that, it does cast a shadow on our rings, but also it darkens the rest of our planet as well. So we're going to solve that, but before we do, let's skew our new shadow because the rings are at a different angle than the planet, so they would cast a shadow at a different, the shadow that would be cast would lay across those rings at a different angle. So let's go to Edit, Transform, Skew, and let's click and drag one of the center nodes. And you can see that it skews or distorts our shadow here. We can do that, and then we can drag it down a little bit to center it more on the rings. Double click to set that change. And then let's do a free transform, Command T, and we can squish this down a little bit. We'll compress it from the top and the bottom, and then let's stretch it out a bit from the left and the right. Double click. And when I toggle the new shadow layer on and off, we can see how it's affecting our rings, but again, it's also affecting the entire planet. So let's create a mask. So hold the Option key and hover over the dividing line between the ring shadow layer and the ring layer, and you'll see your icon change. And just click once. And now we have the ring masking out the shadow so that the new shadow does not affect anything beyond the pixels that make up the ring on the layer below it. And we can toggle that on and off and we can see the difference. Okay, so even with this ring shadow layer out, we could still make changes to it if we wanted to. We do have a Gaussian blur that was picked up from the original layer, and if we wanted to make some adjustments to that, we could. I'm probably just going to leave mine alone. And we could also Command T to adjust the proportions a little bit if we wanted to. And I don't know if it's really necessary right now for me to do that, but just depends on the effect that you're going for. We could also just experiment with the opacity and fill settings. Maybe we don't want these at 100%. Maybe we want just a hint of that ring showing. Very subtle. And you know, you could do some further experimentations with the ring if you wanted to. We've got kind of a smooth ring with no texture on it, but if you wanted to experiment with a little bit of texture, let's imagine that this is made up of dust particles or ice chunks or something like that. We could click on our ring layer. We could go to Filter and Noise and choose Add Noise. I would select Gaussian, and then you can, I'll exaggerate here so it's easy to see, but you could make a ring that's got some texture so that it looks like it's made out of some dust particles or ice particles. And that's completely up to you if that's an effect that you would like to apply. Okay, so that is our planet with rings. Now what we would do is we would make sure we save, Command S, make sure you've already named it as a separate file, Command S, and then make a JPEG for export, save for web, JPEG maximum, hit save.